prison wife. I'm the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice. Hoping, girl, to see justice before it all fades to black. And that was my battery. So, just a moment. I'm gonna have to try to attach my battery pack. Okay, not so good news. This is the charger I have. This short charger that won't reach into my little thing to charge. And well, what it that's gonna be hard if it does. I'll be scooched all the way down. I doubt it is. Yep. Wow. Very flattering. Look at this. Yeah, I do not like this, but I guess that's how it is. I had a battery pack, but now I don't have that. But let's roll with it. Y'all already know it's always something when I am trying to go live, upload, trying to get my content out. But that's just how it goes. Let's first let the window down a little bit because it is hot. Now we in Florida. Whew. Even though Florida done cooled down some, I'm under a tree, so I'm getting some a little bit of shade. But anyways, today I wanted to come through to tell you the story of my case. I won my case, guys, and it is very. What is he about to hit me like right in front of me? um, I won my case, but it is a case that was very, very, for me, time consuming, and it was so stressful. Y'all already know before when I was going live every Monday, I was heading up to the library, and that was so that I can work on my case against my apartment complex. I have to go back and find the videos to link in the description box, like the previous videos of what was going on. So, just to give you a short synopsis, um, y'all already know it is so difficult to move. If you're in the process of moving, my prayers go out to you. Just know that eventually you will find something. It is very difficult. It is not the same game that it used to be. It has been hard to move, like from, let's say, I really want to say it was either 17 or 18, 2017 or 18, around hurricane season. And when that last hurricane hit, I think it's the one that hit the Bahamas, because I remember being in school at that time. When that hurricane came through after that, it was very difficult to move in Florida. Well, I'm in Central Florida, so it was very difficult to move. It became long waiting lists. You already know when something becomes scarce, people bank on that, so they started making you pay for holding fees and all types of stuff. So it's very difficult, right? So I had been looking for an apartment from the year before. I had to move out of the unit that I'm in because rent was jacked all the way up. And I could no longer afford the two-bedroom I was in. At the time, my daughter had moved out, so I didn't need the two-bedroom. So I was looking for a one-bedroom, which is very difficult to find. If it's hard to find an apartment, it's harder to find a one-bedroom, which makes no sense to me, but it is. It's very difficult to find a one-bedroom unit. So almost a year of looking and being on a waiting list or whatever. So what ended up happening, grace of God, I was led to an apartment complex, and they had a one bedroom. I applied. I was approved and everything. So it was just the waiting game because I had to move out of my other apartment by the end of my lease, which grace of God I was able to. That was in June when it was my daughter. It's my birthday, my daughter's birthday. She wanted us to go out of town to Atlanta, and I'm like, how am I gonna do that and actually be packing and moving and getting off the third floor? Y'all already know my health issues with my back and stuff, herniated discs, arthritis, all of that type of stuff, sciatica, like carpal tunnel. How am I gonna move off a third floor? I can barely get up and down. And when I rented, I rented one of those U-Haul trucks, and in my mind, I always have a perfect plan, right? I don't like the shyness behind my head. Maybe that'll help. Okay, there it is. Oh, it's coming through a little bit. But I don't usually have a perfect plan, but I come up with something just like now, how the phone was going dead. This was not perfect because I had a battery pack, but I completely did not put the battery pack in my bag. So that did no good for me. So now I'm scooched over and still recording with you guys. So this is now my plan B, right? Well, actually, plan B would have been the battery pack. This is plan C, but we still getting it done. That's how things always work in my life. Like when something, a difficulty comes up, I'm trying to restructure and like reorganize and figure out how can we get this done. So I had a U-Haul and I was like, I'm just gonna fill it up. It wasn't even the biggest U-Haul. Girl, dealing with them stairs, I could not hardly get that stuff down them stairs. I had someone come through and help me for a while. He did quite a bit. Like he helped for like an hour or so bringing stuff up and down, but them stairs was killing everybody, right? So I ended up staying up all night. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take 10-minute increments. I'll carry something down, and then wait 10 minutes. And girl, I don't care how I tried to do it. Them stairs was a killer. It was very difficult doing it. And when morning had come, I hadn't even filled that truck. I couldn't do that many trips. So, and then my daughter got sick and she went through something really a big like health issue and she was in the hospital. So I'm already worrying about her in the back of my mind, but now I have to get out of here. Like, girl, it was just so much. But I was able to move out. I got off that unit on time. I got the unit like basically cleaned up as best as I could because you gotta repair the holes in the walls and stuff like that. Like not big holes like from hanging pictures and this and that. Cleaning the carpet, having to deep clean the appliances because they charge for if it's not for everything. They try to charge and they jack up the prices for everything. This lighting. Okay, so oh, will that help? Nope, that does nothing. Anyways, that whole thing was taken care of. It was difficult. It really was, but I got out. And then it was just a fact of waiting until the next apartment was open. Okay, so I had to be at my old unit by June the 30th was my last day, and then my new unit was to open on September 21st, which is my sister's birthday. My sister that is no longer with us. It's her birthday, so I specifically remember that day, right? So it's getting close to that day, and I'm calling the people. Well, okay, prior to that, I, a little bit after moving out, get this bill, and I kind of already felt like I wasn't gonna get my deposit, just because I know landlords always try to screw you on your deposit. And the time before, they just took my whole deposit, which was like $1,000. And I'm like, so where's my deposit? It's been like 2 months. And the lady was like, oh yeah, we kept that. You don't get anything. And I'm like, for what? And she's like, oh, the walls were all messed. And I'm like, lady, I got recordings. What's on the walls? What's on the walls? She tried it, but she knew they know that they be in the wrong, but they will try you, right? And then they'll see if you will fight back. It's like they put up their deuce, they be punching at you, like trying to get you put your gloves up or whatever. Are you gonna fight back or are you gonna fold, right? So got through that situation and she returned my whole deposit. And I'm like, dang, that ain't never happened to me. I've had, and deposits back then used to, that was the highest deposit I had paid at that time. But deposits might be about $300, $200, 500, whatever. And I would just have them deduct for little things, whatever, and then you get the rest back, right? Because I don't go in and destroy my unit or anything like that. I leave my unit basically the way it, when I come in. And honestly, I ain't even home enough to destroy a unit. Y'all know I'm always on the go, right? Um, and then I don't have kids anymore. Like my daughter and all her little friends just come over. Like that's over because my daughter has her own place. So it's not that. So when am I going to be destroying your property? You know what I mean? So hold on my hand. So upon moving out, I received an affidavit saying that I owe 4,800 something. So it was almost 5,000, and they had already taken my 700, 750, I believe, deposit. They had already taken that, and I owed them another for something, almost 5,000. I'm like, for what? Like literally, the only real damage that was in the apartment was the carpet needed to be cleaned, basically from wear and tear or whatever, and high traffic areas. You know how the carpet can be um, kind of like not as clean in those areas that you're constantly walking across. And then it had like this weird snagging carpet, like that you would see in a church house, right? That it will run like if one little snag from whatever, if you had a chair and the chair caught on it, it would snag up and it would pull. So that it had a couple of those throughout the carpet. And then money came and she was trying to decorate, and she, I guess, missed the point many times. And then so there were like little pinholes and stuff like that. But my dad is a master constructor, construction, whatever. I can't say it. But he talked money through how to repair those holes, right? So we had already did the repairs in the house, cleaned up to the best of my ability. But if I wasn't rushing, I would have cleaned, like deep clean, like, because they charged me for lint in my washing, I mean, my dryer and stuff like. And I'm like, I didn't even know they charge for stuff like that. Girl, they were charging for whatever they could charge for. They charged me for. I ended up leaving my shower curtain. I don't know how I did that, but I left the shower curtain up, and they charged me for removal of the shower curtain. It was so many things, right? So the bill comes up to 5,000 something dollars, and I just want to cry. I'm like, how? Now, what I told you before in that video was that the mother company of the apartment that I was moving out and the mother company of the apartment that I was moving in are the same people, right? They're different apartment complexes, but they're basically under the same corporate. And the initial thing was to try to transfer. The transfer was basically like within, if you're within your lease, you can transfer property. If there was an issue, whatever, or if you're on a waiting list and it comes open and stuff, you could transfer like that. And that was my initial thing. But my lease had come to an end, and I didn't want to re-sign my lease. You know what I'm saying? So that's what ended up happening. The transfer didn't happen in a timely enough fashion before my lease ended. That's why it ended up not being a transfer. So I ended up paying my deposit on the new unit. I had paid the application fee. I paid the holding fee. Well, yeah, application fee, holding fee, and then the deposit. The holding fee is basically deducted, it's within the deposit. So whatever you pay for your holding fee, after you're approved, whatever else that amounts up to the deposit amount is what you have to pay later. So kind of the holding fee is kind of tied into the deposit, right? It's the same amount, but you're just adding what's left over until you reach that threshold of what the deposit is. So I had paid all of that and I'm just waiting to move in. So we get to the week of September 21st and I'm like, because y'all know I'm busy all over the place. So I'm like, what's going on? Like, I haven't heard anything because I know you got to turn on lights. I know you got to turn on gas. I know you got to do this, do that to prepare. Now, all the while, I'm on the other side fighting the other complex, right? And I am disputed. I did an initial dispute letter. I went through line by line of each thing that they charged me for, which I do have that in the other video that was with my cousin. He was like, he was going to try to help me out on TikTok because he said he had an audience and possibly, there's people that can give us guidance in what we can do or whatever like that. So that's why I got back on TikTok. Thank God that he did that because my TikTok, I don't know, I quickly forgot about that and started just putting Project Reach the World and Marcello's case and stuff. And I started gaining a little bit of following, which is crazy. So, and that's all attributed to that. You see how one thing leads to another, leads to another. So that's how I jumped back on TikTok. Because y'all know I had a TikTok, but by them closing it down, I just was not in any type of mind space to start over. Like, you looking at a person that has done some of everything, anything full fledged, full passion, going towards whatever and doing whatever I need to do, no matter how much hard work it put in, no matter how much sweat, how many tears, I go forward and push forward. And when it doesn't work, it's heartening, it's disheartening. So I didn't want to start over with TikTok. But because of this, and because of my cousin pushing into me to go ahead and just do it, just so this situation, and they can have somebody to like, you can have an area where they can reach out to you if anybody has any advice, right? So that was why I jumped back on TikTok. So I did the initial dispute. I went line by line. So in that video, you can see everything they tried to charge me with, right? And not know this neighborhood, I thought it was a bougie, uppity neighborhood because it is in a touristy area. It is a high class area. But baby, I quickly found out when you live in those areas, it's a lot more than meets the eye. Girl, it was drive-bys. My friend was driving with me to my unit one day, and literally right in front of me, God has been watching over me. He has been saving me, protecting me. I don't know what he got me for, but he got me for something, girl, because he's been saving me. Directly in front of me, I pull up to the stop sign, and then a car goes skirting past me, and I hear pow pow, and I'm like, the fuck? What is that? So we get to my unit, me and my friend, right? And we only there for a minute or whatever, and we coming back out, and now everything is taped off. And I was like, because asked him, I was like, was that shots? Did you hear shots? And he was like, I don't know. My radio was too loud. I didn't hear nothing. So I wasn't sure. But as I'm pulling out the unit and going back up towards the front, now everything is yellow taped off. I'm sorry for the interruption. It's always an interruption when I'm doing something. But hopefully they do not call back. But so someone was powered. I think they were outed too. I'm not sure. But these things were happening. And it was just one prior to that. I was there at because my cousin lived in the same unit. And just prior to that, there was a powering outside of his unit there. And I'm like, God, dog. And that day, I don't know, someone was asking me, he had a friend that was over, staying with him at the time, and she wanted me to watch the kids. And I was like, I don't know, it was just something in me that was like, no, I don't want to. I literally did not want to watch kids that day. And y'all know I love kids. And I was like, no, I have something else to do. Because at first I was like, yeah, that's fine. But she was like taking so long to do whatever she needed to do, to the point where I was like, no, I have to do other things. I don't want to waste my time here. And I'm starting to, I've been a people pleaser. I really have. But now I'm starting to say, no, I don't want to please somebody else before I please me. And if I don't want to stay here, I don't want to stay here. I have other things to do. So when it became that she didn't take care of whatever instance, like right away, um, because when I flip it, I'm like, if I had someone waiting on me, I would do it, and they were helping me, I would do what I needed with them first, like quickly, so I don't delay them, and then I'll do what I need to do. But I don't know what the situation was, but it wasn't happening. So I was like, no, I'm finna leave. I promise you, as soon as I left, it was pow pow. And I had just missed it, and it happened like right there in front of his unit. So this neighborhood was a mess. It was a mess, but they want us to pay top notch for living in what, a darn war zone, like, girl. And so I disputed anyways. The neighborhood wasn't all that, right? I disputed line by line. I went by each thing. I looked up the landlord tenant law and what is covered. They were trying to charge me for things that are covered and aren't covered. And if it says that if you dispute any part, y'all know I'm with that law, girl. So every word in a paragraph matters. You can't just get the overall understanding of the paragraph. No, each and every word makes a difference. So it says if you don't agree with each line, you can dispute. So you can dispute it for one thing, right? So I went down each line and I answered and addressed each thing. Why this is not under wear and tear. And some things that I was unclear about, I was like, can you please provide pictures, provide proof? Because they were saying they had to replace that carpet. And I'm like, hold on now, but carpet has to be replaced anyway after so long. What's all that noise? The kids making that much noise over there. Oh, it's a birthday party or some or a picnic. So after so many years, carpet has to be replaced anyway. So you're charging me for what you would have to do anyway. Because when I moved in that unit, that carpet was not brand new. So I was like, please provide me proof of when you changed this carpet last. Because I'm not going to be the one that you knowing you already have to change it because the time has expired. But then you're going to charge me to change it for you, right? And I was watching different people like lawyers that have these little landlord tenant disputes, and one lawyer did answer me and she was like, yes, they will do that, they will charge you for this and that, but I think she had the wrong understanding. I didn't break my lease. I was at the end of my lease. And I was like, how can they do this? So I think she understood wrong what I was saying, but she was like, yes, they can do this. And yes, landlords will try to charge you for this. And she broke down what wear and tear is. This is wear and tear, that is not. The stuff like that, right? So I started to gain knowledge on my own, started looking, started trying to figure out what my rights are, what my rights aren't, or whatever, like that, right? So I did the first dispute letter. I asked for the pictures proving the replacement of the carpet. I asked for proof of when they replaced it last, because that was the biggest thing that they charged me for, was that carpet. Like, tangible thing that they charged me for was that carpet, but they charged for other little things like the lint and stuff. And what was so crazy, let me see, can I get it off the charger for just a minute, because that is hurt. I just took some Excedrin because I got a headache, and I hate a headache, but I don't want to get another headache by having my neck bent all down. So, and then when it starts to go dead again, I'll just go back to that if I haven't finished yet. Okay, so each line I just disputed. And then the thing is, I became very, in myself, almost like it's almost as though I don't trust myself, right? And that leads to that's other issues that I could tell you the answer as to why I learned to not trust myself so much. Um, but I guess it's not for this video. But so I second guess myself. So I always need the outside input of somebody else. Hey, what do you think about this? How do you think this sounds? Do you believe that I'm at fault or they're at fault? Stuff like that. Like needing a third opinion. I mean, what is that? Yeah, that is a third opinion because the opinion of the apartment is the first opinion, my opinion, the second, and then a third opinion. So who actually is right or wrong? See, me being under these circumstances, don't trust my own judgment. Didn't. I do now, girl. Trust my own judgment. So I was going around, but people can't. It always seems like when you need help, that people just can't help you, whatever. So I wasn't getting the answers from others that I needed. So I was so scared, but I just prayed. I was like, Lord, please just lead me through this process. You know that I'm anxious. You know that I'm overwhelmed. You know that I'm scared. This is a scary situation because I do not have this $5,000, and you know I ain't got it, right? So I put it through, and within like 2 days, I sent it certified, right? And within like 2 days, they came back with, they showed me the pictures. They sent me the pictures. I had got that big package. And then in a separate certified letter, um, dang, what was in that other letter? I can't think of what was in the other letter, but and I asked for what I noticed was after that's what the other letter was. For some reason, which it never disclosed why, they dropped the amount from 5,000, from 4,800 some dollars to 2,600 something. And it was just another bill that's saying that you owe 2,600, and was the pictures. Now, when those pictures thing, it made me so anxious, so overwhelmed. Mail makes me scared. Like I'm tense. Like when I check the mail, like I have to pray before I check my mail. I don't know if anybody else is that bad off, like I was, but I always felt like it's something I missed because every time I check the mail, it's something bad. Is you owe this, or you didn't do this, or we're taking action. And so it got to the point where I was scared to check my mail. So before I open something, like when I find something that is in the mail, and by it being certified, that thing scared me to life. I ain't gonna say to death, but it scared me to life. I was so nervous, and I think I got it on a Thursday. Friday I was gonna open it, but I had to go to work, so I didn't want to open it over the weekend because I didn't want whatever was in the envelope to overwhelm me to where it ruins my weekend, because I spend the time with my family and this and that. But if I open it and it has something bad in it, I can't, my mind is going to worry about that. Worry instead of being present with my family and able to tend to whatever we're doing, right? So I have to kind of split things off. So by me getting it on the weekend, I was like, okay, by Monday I have to open this letter. You gotta open this letter, Keita. And I try to hold myself to whatever, even if I put it off. Now, in the past, I used to put things off far and did not deal with them until they were right at hand, until I was either there's some big consequences or I'm at a deadline, right? So now I tend to try to avoid, but I brought the deadline cutoff date closer, right? So I can't avoid this. I can avoid this, but not past Monday. That's how I set it up. Oh gosh. Hope that didn't get me copyrighted that little bit. That's a shame though. If you're doing content and just somebody comes up playing music, you can get copyrighted and demonetized. That's crazy. But so I said, okay, by Monday I gotta open this. It was so scary. So I set it like in between my seat and my car, and I prayed. I was like, Lord, just help me or whatever. So I put it up. All right. So the next time I was like already seeing that I only owed 2,000 something. So I'm like, I wrote another dispute letter. They give you another time frame. The first time frame I think is 30 days, right? And it was almost on that 30th day when I sent the first one because I had to do my research and ask everybody what they think about it and stuff like that. So that's what they talking about when they tell you, when people say just go to God, right, rather than running to everyone else, because everyone else can't always help you, right? But God will lead you to where you need to go, right? But we run to everyone else. I guess it's just human nature, and we have to learn to get out of that, right? And if you do it, don't, I mean, just over time, try to change it. I mean, I hate when people just pass judgment on people, like, just don't do it. Like, who can stop bad habits overnight? Well, God can, but if you, but He gives us free will, right? So he's gonna urge you to stop it, but He knows you may not stop on the first day, right? So I put that first one out. Then they give you another time frame, and I was asking like, hey, what's the 2,600 for? Because though you, oh, and then I asked for, no, that wasn't that one. So I asked, what is the 2,600 for? I see that you reduced it, but you're not telling me why or anything. So that Monday came, and I opened up the envelope. I was so scared, so scared. But I prayed and I opened the envelope. I looked at the pictures. I was scared to look at the pictures because I'm thinking in my back of my mind, they're going to have pictures of what, you know. But you already know how you left your place, right? So it's like you second guess yourself. So then I look at the pictures and I'm like, I'm writing through each one. This doesn't show that. This doesn't show that. So I literally marked up each picture and showed what does each thing, does this prove their point or not, right? And they really hadn't proved their points on anything. And also, the one of the biggest charges was I was charged 1,500 for not giving 60 days notice that I'm not renewing my lease. That's the part that the lawyer kept mixing up. I didn't break my lease. I didn't give notice that I'm moving at the end of my lease, which I feel that's stupid. Because notice my lease is from now to now. Why do I need to give you, that's kind of stupid, honestly. Because if you don't hear anything, you have to assume I'm leaving because you only allotted me from this time to this time. But the law kind of never really backs us up. So it's not as easy to give those notices. It used to be easier, and it would fall on the tenant's negligence if they did it. But now it's not due to tenant's negligence. You just can't find ish. And I didn't find nothing until after my 60 days were up, right? But why would I run into signing a whole nother lease with you that I can't afford when I found something else? And it just happened to be after the 60 days. So, and they should be a little more lenient knowing how the market is. But they don't care. They're going to hold you to that law. Hold your face to that fire, girl. So I was like, that, and then another 2,500 was for, they're saying they lost rent because they didn't know I was moving. They weren't able to move somebody in. So basically, I made them lose money, which is a bold-faced lie because there are waiting lists everywhere. It is not hard for you to fill a unit. There's no way you can't fill the unit. But upon talking to legal people, they was like they can actually hold that unit and not let nobody move in just because they can charge you. Which, oh, it gets crazy. This law that we think protects us, but it actually protects the corporations more so than us, the citizens, right? Okay, so I got those two charges. Those were the biggest, and then my what they call damages equaled up, ironically, to my deposit, my 750 deposit. So they took my deposit and then charged those other two big charges on top of it. So I'm like, okay. I open the pictures. I look at the pictures. I'm like, this doesn't show that. Wait, this don't show that. Like, what are they talking about? And it reminds me of with my slip and fall case, how my lawyer basically played me. And the week before, well, the week in between, my mother was wrongfully outed due to negligence in a hospital with the operating surgeon. Okay, he basically sent my mother off to ER knowing something was wrong, did nothing, did not return. They kept saying, we got to wait on the doctor, wait on the doctor. Doctor finally returns in the morning and tries to do something, but by then, time is up. My mother's gone. When he went to do what he tried to do, my mother couldn't take it because she went through that whole night suffering, waiting on the doctor, waiting on the doctor. Doctor never came till morning when it was too late, basically. So after her passing, and this is an outpatient surgery, girl. And the funeral the next week, my lawyer from my slip and fall accident calls me and says that, hey, I'm going to have to drop you as a client. And this is when I'm almost to, because you got 4 years to fight those personal injury cases. Is it 4 years? Yeah, it's 4 years. You got about 4 years. So I'm so close to the statute of limitations. And he's like, I'm going to have to drop you because you slipped in your dress. And I'm like, I'm thinking he was already talking about settlement and this and that because they didn't want to go to court because of the corporation. Everybody's scared of this corporation. But he said, we're going to try to settle. That's how most of these things go. So he's already telling me this big amount I'm going to get for my injuries or whatever and my pain and suffering. And then he calls me that week of all weeks. And I see his name in my call ID, and I'm like, okay, maybe, he's calling me to verify the amount, because what I was going to do was take that amount and use it toward getting legal representation for Marcello. And that's how I got through that, because I was like, maybe, God changes all good. I mean, all bad for our good, right? So I'm thinking that I went through that storm, but it was going to provide the money to restore my family and get my family up on their feet, right? He calls that week in between and said, ma'am, I'm going to, oh, something in my eye. I'm going to have to drop your case. And I'm like, drop my case for what? He's like, I didn't know you slipped in your dress. I'm like, slipped in my dress? What? Yep. He said, I never watched the surveillance cameras until now, which that's dumb. That's a lie, but it's a dumb lie. And you think I'm dumb enough to believe it. Why would you take my case? The first thing you're going to do is watch the surveillance cameras. And those surveillance cameras that they tried to tamper with shows nothing but my butt walk in that store and fall flat on my back. And it shows my head bounce like that. That's what it shows. And he's like, nope, you slipped in your dress. And I'm like, how I slipped in my dress? And again, you want the proof because you're second guessing yourself. I know my head slapped that dang on floor. I know the pain I'm in. I know it's because I stepped in the dang on water and slid across that floor. But then you second guess yourself. See, that's that narcissistic energy that makes you think you're crazy. and makes you believe their lie. So I'm like, just send me the videotape, just send me the surveillance. And it took a while to get it, but lo and behold, it showed nothing but what I said. How could I slip? Who slips in their dress and falls backwards? If you're going to slip in your dress, you're going to fall forward. It only makes sense scientifically. How could I have slipped in a dress? And my dress wasn't that long. But he was like, he basically wanted out of the situation. He was on his own private practice, and he was going to be part of a big law firm in Florida, right? So I guess when he got part of that law firm, there's all these alliances, and most likely that company, he couldn't represent nobody against that company, right? So that's why a lot of our cases we lose is because of alliance. It's not because our case is wrong, not because we don't have a case, not because we're wrong. It's because of alliance. It's a shame, but that's our justice system, right? So that's when he calls and tells me that he's not going to represent me no more, which left me with very little time. I found a second lawyer, and that lawyer, in turn, within that time frame, did the same thing, dropped me. And by the time he dropped me, it was over. So a lot of these lawyers within personal injury, they get your case and hold it just to exhaust the statute of limitations. That's our system. So I kind of second guessed myself there. That was just an example. So with asking for the pictures, it was like you need proof, because now you're trying to rely on your remembrance and like, am I remembering correctly or stuff like that. So I seen that the pictures did not show any of what they were saying. So I disputed those. And then I was like, okay, y'all dropped it to 2,600, but what is it for? For what? Like, give me another itemized statement. Give me a breakdown, because I need to see which things you took off and which ones you didn't. And when they sent the itemized statement, I think that was in the next letter, it was the first initial statement. And I'm like, hold on. This does not add up to this new amount. What is this? So that's when I composed a third dispute letter. So right before the third dispute letter, they had, because it was the same mother company, came back and told me that, remember when I said that I was calling to see what I needed to do to move into my apartment, and they were like, I'm sorry, Miss Dixon, but you owe the company almost $5,000. So, well, they said a balance, because by that time it was 2,600, which I still ain't got that, baby girl. So they was like, we cannot allow you to move in the unit. And I'm like, huh? And what was so crazy, there was a girl that I was working with. She was just on point, on point, on point. And so she called me when I was at work, and she was like, we got a unit ready for you now. Like, do you want it? And by that time, I'm like, dang, my finances ain't right. I haven't. So I was already banking on September, and she wants me to move in now. And I was thinking about it. I was like, how many days do I have to think about it? She was like, maybe 2. So by Wednesday, let me know. So I thought about it, and then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna go ahead and get the apartment now. We'll figure everything out. But when I called her, there was no response back, which was so odd, because this girl answers right back, like, you know something's wrong. And I had a dream about that girl, which I hope she's okay. The dream, and it was so weird. Why the heck am I dreaming about the lady that's at the apartment complex I'm applying to? That makes no sense. But it was something wrong with her in the dream or whatever. And that made me, I mean, I think I brushed it off or whatever. So she never answered. I'm like, I hope this girl is okay, because why did I randomly dream about her from no darn where? So we can't figure out what's wrong with the girl. She's not answering. So I drive over to the place. No, I think my cousin ended up finding out information. We find out she's pregnant, Nobody knew she was pregnant. She didn't even look pregnant, girl. So I don't know. So she was the one that told me it was okay because I specifically asked her. I was like, wait, because she called me with the unit. She said, I have a unit for you. And this was after my 60 days. I'm like, but what about my 60-day notice? It's shorter than that. I'm not able to give that 60-day notice. And she was like, don't worry about it. It's the same company. We'll work that out. So she was my proof on that. But now all of a sudden, so that 2,500, they weren't supposed to be charging me that because she told me that she was going to work it out, that it's fine. This happens all the time, but you're moving property to property within the same company. So it's not a big deal at all, right? And it became a big deal when I got that deposition, but all of a sudden she's gone. There's no, like, my one witness in this is gone. So I go there, nobody else knows the case, nobody else has no information. They act like they didn't see nothing. So when I called her back to say, yes, go ahead and push it through, she was gone, right? And they said they didn't see that earlier apartment or anything. So I'm like, okay. And then by that time, the debt had hit the collection agency with the company. And they were like, and in fact, so when I called inquiring about that 2020, I'm sorry, not 20, what am I saying? September 21st apartment, they was like, and there's something more. You're not going to be able to move in. We're going to have to kick your application out because you owe our company. Like, huh? Even though I paid, all this occurred before y'all even did that. And these are bogus charges that I'm still disputing. Like, can you do that? Like, that's where I was so confused because it really honestly didn't feel like they could legally do what they were doing, right? It didn't feel right. And I knew some of their charges were bogus. Like, they were just trying to extract money from me because I was moving out. That's what they do. They just try to get you so that you can pay a lot of expenses because that's a way to gain up money when people are moving and moving out, right? So they did it quite often. And I don't know. It's like a game they run and they legally can't run it. So there's nobody to prove that. And I'm like, hold on now. You mean to tell me somebody leaves your company and they leave with all the information with that client? How is that? That doesn't even sit well with my spirit. How does that even make sense? It's always somebody more than just the worker that has access to the case. But they were all acting like they were whatever. Okay, so from that point, I'm really getting scared now because now I'm about to lose my apartment. That, remember the waiting list? Remember, I've been waiting for almost a year now, and it's that means I got to go back out into the housing market and start looking again, all over from scratch. Erase all the hard work you've done and start over from zero, right? Jesus. So then I get in the car and they were like, go, the apartment complex was like, why don't you make payment arrangements? And I'm like, if I make payment arrangements, because they were saying if you at least set up a payment arrangement, then we can move forward with you moving in, right? But I'm like, if I set up payment arrangements, I am taking ownership of this debt. And I am telling you that it's still in dispute and it's not my debt. So it's basically like they're trying to back me into a corner. You taking my apartment as collateral, basically, to make me pay that loan. That's what they were doing. That's exactly what they were doing. So I'm like, dang, I'm stuck. So I got in my car that day and I literally got my phone. I was praying before for God to um, lead me to each word to say because I get really nervous when I talk to people and stuff like that. So I was like asking the Lord to just lead me, lead my words, lead this conversation, let the best happen that, what is supposed to happen. If I am correct, just defend me and stuff like that, right? So as I sat in the driver's seat, just praying, about to dial a number, I think I did dial a number. And immediately I hung up and I pulled out that second letter and I seen that it had another time frame, said I had until this date to dispute. I was literally about to pick up the phone and make these payment arrangements with this company because I'm stuck because they pulled my apartment. And I reread the letter and I'm like, no, they haven't satisfied the first part of the first dispute. They never showed me proof. Another, I'll have to call them back. Gosh. Okay, so they never showed me anything like from the first dispute. They never provided the updated itemized statement. And it was like, you never, like, and then I asked for an investigation into the lady, what she told me. They didn't have that. So I'm like, I'm finna write another dispute letter. So I sat at the library. I think I did updates with that, how nervous I was. And I formulated my third dispute letter. Now, before the first dispute letter, the second dispute letter, the apartment complex came right back within 2 days, remember, with a certified answer. This time, it was due by September 21st. And I remember because that was supposed to be my move in date, but that's also my late sister's birthday. And that was my deadline to get that dispute letter in. So I was like, I'm going to write another dispute letter. And I did. So this is my third dispute letter. And I was like, you're holding me to this, but you have not provided this. I also I wrote that dispute letter, sent it in, and I had spoke to something called legal aid. I spoke to a legal aid attorney, and they basically, I think before it was, I think it was before the third dispute letter. And because remember I said it doesn't seem like they're able to hold my apartment. Well, I spoke to them previous to that, and they were asking me, I'm sorry, they were saying that yes, they can charge you for those things. I was thinking that the 500, the 1,500, I'm sorry, for non 60-day notice, and the 2,500 for loss of rent, basically liquidated damages. I'm like, that seems like the same charge. Can they charge me with all of that? And the attorney was like, yes, they can, but just get back to me if you have any other questions, whatever. So I already knew that, hey, what they're doing kind of is legal. But then when they withheld my other apartment because of that, I'm like, wait a minute, is this legal, right? So that's when I wrote another letter. It takes me a long time to type because of my injuries and stuff. So I wrote another letter to legal aid, and they were like, yes, they can do that. So, but I need to refer you to this other legal service. Like, they can probably help you because I'm unable to help you. So then that's when I found out about it's another legal service. I don't have it right offhand, but it's one where you have to qualify as basically like low income, and they consultate with you one time over the phone. I had never heard of this. They sent me to them, so I qualified, and you have this one time verbal like conversation, and that's when I was asking them, hold on, they're able, though I paid my deposit holder fee, application fee, and was approved on this side before they even came up with these bogus charges, they can withhold my apartment. And he was like, yeah, I'm so sorry that they can. This seems so underhanded, but they can. And he said there is a way also that they can put something in the system that you will not be able to rent anywhere else until this is resolved. So I'm like, really? So that was basically, once I finished that conversation with him, I knew baby payment arrangements is my only way out of this. So that's when I sat in the car and I got ready to call the corporate and make those payment arrangements when God said, dispute it again, a third time. Girl, so you know I'm scared. Because I'm thinking, like, when God tells you something, sometimes you misinterpret it. You think, God, is that you? Are you sure you want me to do it? Again? Like, I lost. Like, I didn't get the first two. Like, you sure again? Okay, it's going dead. So, and I'm almost done. So let me read. He's like, yep, do it again, Keita. Right? Okay, so I hung up the phone, read it again. I went back to the drawing board, um, re re disputed everything. I called back to how they didn't answer any of the disputes from the beginning. And that's when 2 days later, I'm thinking I'm going to get that certified answer. And I don't. So I'm like, and then at this time, it's hard to take care of legal business and business period because I'm at work doing business hours. So it's very difficult to do that stuff. So I'm up there calling on my lunch breaks and stuff, barely having time, sitting on hold, this and that. So I'm like, so what's the answer to this, the dispute? And they're like, uh, the lady that does the disputes, she's not in the office and she hasn't gotten to yours and it's piled up. There's several disputes right now. And we have 30 days from that time to answer you. So 30 days from the 21st of September, which would have been October 21st. They had until October 21st. Well, my next date to move in was going to be October 15th, which is my father's birthday. Specifically, these move-in dates were happening on very intricate dates in my life, right? So I'm like, okay, if y'all not going to come with an answer until the 21st, that means I could lose the October apartment. And they're like, yeah, you can, but you can always just pay, girl. So now I'm like, hold on, something wrong. If they was answering me back like real fast and now all of a sudden they taking time, something, I must have gotten through on something. And looking at how they had dropped it from 5,000 something to 2,600, girl, maybe I'm on to something. So then they was like, yeah, we have time to we still have until this time or whatever. So I put in that next dispute. They should have received it. I had sent it out already, but they should have received it by that 21st, right? So then they didn't. And I think I tried back again like a week or so later, and they was like, nope, it's still pending. So they weren't giving me an answer. They were gonna wait till that 30th day. And honestly, I have faith that they was gonna have to drop that whole thing. They knew they were gonna have to drop that whole thing. But what they were trying to do was leverage me losing the apartment, right? To kind of back me into panic. So I realized what I was up against. If I lose that next apartment, you know what's gonna happen. So what I did then was I had got on the phone with the corporate, and I was like, what can we do to work out a payment plan? And he was like, you owe 1,700 now. So they had dropped, how you dropped again from 5,000, 4,800, but with my deposit they took, it would have been $5,500, right? So you come from that to 2,600, and now you're down to 1,700. Girl, why are you just dropping this off one by one? Why not drop it all together? But y'all dropping stuff off one by one. And I don't think y'all just dropping it just to be nice, right? So then he's like, well, usually if you pay it all now, we could give you a discount of 1,000 something. It was you owe 1,700. We could do one time payment of 1,000 something. He said, but for you today, I'm just gonna do it at 1,000. You can do it at 1,000. And that's when, and God just led me through this whole process. I'm telling you. So then he was like, if you paid 1,000, and then I was like, so am I gonna be free and clear to move in, right? So God gave me the right answers questions to ask and all of that. So he was like, yeah, we'll be free on this side, but you need to ask the apartment complex, are they still gonna rent to you, whatever. So I spent some time trying to reach out to them and saying that, hey, corporate said if we work out where I just pay 1,000 and they clear the debt, would you still rent to me? And they were saying, yeah, we'll still rent to you. But it took me a while to get in touch with them because it's very difficult to get in touch with the office. So once I got that answer, but the apartment people, they were like, you better get in writing what they're saying because you don't want them to say this and then you go pay it and then it's something else. So I'm like, oh, you're right, Juju. I'll answer him in a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. He would have kept calling me if I didn't answer. If I didn't answer, that boy would have kept calling. He got his little phone with everybody's number in it. But yeah, so he was like $1,000. So they was like, get a letter, a email stating that exactly what he said. 1,000's gonna satisfy the debt. So then it took a minute to do that, to get back to them to do that. So once I did get that email and was verified that once I paid the 1,000, I would be free and clear to apply. So I paid the 1,000. It still didn't end, y'all. There's still the battle going, right? So I paid 1,000, and they was like, well, I got ready to pay the 1,000, and it was like, make sure that it is, if you do a debit, no, off a credit or something like that, it can take longer to go through, to process through, and all of that. So I didn't make the payment that day because I think that was the way I was gonna do it. And then they said if you do it with debit, it'll be free and clear that day. So I made the $1,000 payment. I go back to the apartment and they said, oh, okay, it's clear and open, but we've refunded your deposit and you have to reapply again. And it is 200 and something dollars now to reapply. Because applying back then, I think was 99. So they had raised the application fee. And I'm like, and it was a long, tedious process with applying. I'm like, start over. And it's like, yeah, you have to start over. I'm like, Jesus, does it end? And I'm still fighting to meet the deadline before the next apartment, right? So I paid $1,000 and I went up to, because they don't answer the phone. So I have to go to the place or whatever. So that weekend I had tried to reapply, but I couldn't get into the application. It was like it was locked up or whatever. So Monday I went way over to the apartment complex. That following Monday I went over to the apartment complex and they helped me reset my password. They gave me some code to go in and reset the password. So I reset the password and I was trying to apply. Then at first I was about to leave and some said, no, do this right here because you can't keep coming back and forth, whatever. And you know when you leave it's gonna be a problem. So I went in and they tried to help me. They was like, the way it's set up, I don't know what they said that day, but I didn't get no resolution. So that Friday, I went back over there because those are really the only days that I'm able to go while they're open because they don't answer the phone and their voicemail is full. So you have to show up. So I go over there that Friday, and that's when the lady was like, oh, it's something, it's like a glitch in your thing. And it's like because you were already approved, they got you like you're a resident. That's why it's not taking you to the application. And she was like, that's why you can't reapply. And she was like, so nobody can fix it, but the what are those people? Tech people. The tech people are the only ones that can go in and show you how to get in and redo your application. So I'm like, dang. And that by that time, after I had to went over there, it was time for me to go to work, because I have to slip my life in around work. So I'm like, this gonna be another weekend. So then Monday came, so you can't take care of nothing on a Monday. So it kind of gives me like a sigh of relief moment, right? So when that Monday came, that was when Money wanted to go to Busch Gardens. That's when we took Princess to Busch Gardens, and she was twerking all over. That girl was stopping twerk to some to whatever music was playing, right? So I was kind of hesitant to go with Money because I'm like, I gotta handle this. So as long as I have problems looming over me, it affects the time I spend with my family, which I hate that. It feels like when you're spending good, free, quality time with your family, you have to feel guilty about it because you're letting something fall by the wayside. So I was like, no, we're gonna do that. Oh, I'm sorry. The tech guy got me in that Friday, but it was time for me to go to work, right? So I wasn't able to get in and apply. The weekend got away from me, so I didn't apply over the weekend, and I did it that Monday. I was like, Money, I really can't go with you because I gotta do this application. I can't type, so it's hard. So it's gonna take me hours to redo an application, which y'all think I'd be playing. Like honestly, it takes me hours to do something that probably would take you minutes to do. Like composing email probably takes you minutes. It could take me a day sitting up at the library trying to do it. So Money was like, I'll do the application for you. You just drive because we going to Busch Gardens. And then I'm like, yeah, I don't want to keep putting my family, my life and family off because of these problems that don't never go away. So we did the application that day. And it was because it was just so hard to do it. It was nothing laid out easy for me, right? So that is where, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. So finally, when she went in, what we realized was that I didn't have to do the whole application process over, that it just needed some updates. So that was grace of God as well. So I did that application, and here we are waiting. It is down to the wire. It's down to the wire, but we still just waiting. And I just see how God has gotten me through this process. This was so scary. And y'all might say that, but hold on, how did you win? You still had to pay $1,000. Girl, I owed $5,000 that eventually was going to end up on my credit and my rental history, right? Because, like they kept telling me legally, though this is bogus what they're doing, they can legally do it. So there was no way around it for me, right? So the way I justified it in my mind, most likely if I had played it out, I would have won. It looked like I was going to win that whole dispute. But because I didn't have the time frame to keep trying to win the dispute, I stopped at the thousand. It was like a bid, going back and forth, a bid, girl. So I stopped at the thousand because I knew I didn't have the time to waste, right? I was going to lose the next one bedroom, which after that, it was nothing but two bedrooms, two bedrooms, two bedrooms coming up. There was no more one bedrooms, right? So we was working against time as well. But to get all the way down, so that means if the debt started at 5,000 something, they took my little deposit, which I was like, I didn't pay the whole deposit anyway, because at that time me and Money were living together, so we went half in on it. So $750 3 years ago that I paid, which meant that half of it, 325, is it? No, 375 a piece. So Money paid 375, I paid 375. So I paid 375. That's what I did not get back from my deposit, and plus I paid $1,000, right? That was the settlement amount. So I paid $1,375 in total in this whole situation. But as I look over it, though that lady told me that, hey, it's no problem, it's not 60 days, and then she disappears like from nowhere. Though she told me that, that in itself was 1,500 charge. Not giving them 60 days. I gave them 45 days, which was still sufficient enough time to find somebody to fill that apartment. But they wanted to play the game, right? So that in itself was 1,500. For me to walk away paying only 1,300, that means that I got out cheaper than, because I did not, in all actuality, I am at fault in not giving them 60 days. Whether she told me it was okay, she didn't tell me, I still did not give them 60 days. Whether I was able to or not able to, I still did not give them 60 days. So under law, I can be penalized 1,500. So I got out cheaper than I would have. So I call that a win. That's a win. And I'm still able to reapply for my new apartment. Nothing on my credit, nothing on my rental history. My rental history has been immaculate for 10 years. Why have them mess it up? Over 10 years, I'm sorry. Why have them mess it up now? That was just an attack of the enemy. It was trying to make me fearful, trying to make my fear paralyze me, trying to make me doubt God, to doubt myself, to doubt my own judgment. And in the end, God showed me that I won. All right, guys, I'm going to go. I'm going to walk a couple of laps, and then I'm going to go see what Juju and them want. All right. Hiss, your girl Cadillac.